Welcome to 2007, where PC hardware is more exciting, from innovative PC cases to each new wave of hardware bringing more excitement and possibilities. If 2007 is this epic, imagine what hardware is going to be like in say 15 to 20 years from now. It's going to be incredible. Well, that looks like a bit of a shit show. Let's just keep it to 2007. So back in 2007, during my university days, my PC rig boasted the following specs. For the CPU, I had an Intel Core 2 Quad Q6600. This quad-core 4-thread CPU had a base clock of 2.4 GHz, 128 kilobytes of L1 cache, 8 megs of L2 cache, a TDP of 105 watts, was built on a 65nm process, used the LGA 775 socket, and had a front-side bus of 1066 MHz. Talking about the front-side bus, you could easily actually overclock the CPU. Its multiplier was locked, but you could increase the front-side bus's frequency to easily add a good couple of 100 MHz to these processors' base clock. This very CPU I usually used to have running at about a base clock of 2.75 GHz. To be honest, I could have easily pushed it to 3 GHz with the motherboard and the cooler I had at the time. I just didn't. As far as my GPU was concerned, I was rocking the NVIDIA 8800 GT. It had 512 megs of GDDR3 running on a 256-bit memory interface. It was a PCI Express 2.0 device and had a TDP of 125 watts. The GPU had a core clock of 600 MHz, the shader clock 1500 MHz, and a memory clock of 900 MHz, effectively 1800 MHz. So let's also not forget that this GPU did come with 112 CUDA cores. For RAM, I was running 2 gigs of DDR2 800 running in dual channel. Specifically, I was running two 1 gig sticks of Transcend Jet RAM. Nothing fancy, but that's what I could afford at the time. For storage, I had 2 hard drives. I had an 80 gig SATA drive and a 160 gig IDE drive. But for this build though, I went with a 120 gig SSD and an old 200 gig Seagate SATA drive spinning at 7200 RPM. Specifically for today's build, powering all of this, I have a 600 watt PSU. Specifically, the GameDeus Crysis E1-600. And for the motherboard, I have a Gigabyte G41M combo, which supports both DDR2 and DDR3. And finally, for the case, I have this lovely PSI Achilles gaming case, the yellow edition, with the Dragon side window. The case comes with 2 80mm fans, one on the side window and one on the top of the case. I have added an additional 80mm fan to the back of the case. It does have support for either a 120 or 80mm fan in both the front and the back of the case. I just stuck to 80mm fans as that's what's currently installed in the case, and I wanted to keep the 2000s vibes going on. I can't seem to find much about this case, to be honest. I did manage to find some posts of it, but this was like back in 2010, and they stated someone was basically trying to sell this case back in 2010, not this case, but the silver version of this case on a website called Carbonite, and they stated the case was already 2 years old. I found another post also showing a red version of the case that dated back to 2011, so based on those two posts, it sounds like this case was readily available from at least 2008, 2007. It does a really great job capturing, to be honest, the style of the cases back in the mid-2000s. Let's now move our way to the benchmarks. In some of these benchmarks, I have both the stock and overclock results. For the overclocking, I will be keeping to my initial 2.75 GHz from back in the day. I'm keeping it like that, and the reason for that is I have a good idea of what some of these results should be based on that overclock. So anyway, with that said, let's jump into it. So as far as this build is concerned, back in the day I never had issues running any of the latest games at the time. And as I can say, even now, it's a great box to just play older games on if you have the originals. I will be doing a couple of series around different years, so I plan on doing a 2008 build, 2009 build, and maybe even a 2005 build, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and give us a thumbs up. Anyways, hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Keep it tidy, keep it clean, peace out.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
AI.